The Intergalactic Medical Symposium was the kind of affair that promised innovation but often delivered monotony. Held in the gleaming halls of Quora Prime's medical pavilion, an architectural marvel overlooking a neon-lit sea, it brought together the brightest minds from dozens of species. Attendees discussed gene therapy, nanobot surgery, and other highbrow topics with all the warmth of frozen starlight. Conversations rarely strayed from clinical discourse until the evening when Dr. Bryan Reeve, a human medical officer with an easy smile and a penchant for mischief, decided it was time to liven things up. As clusters of alien medics milled about, Reeve uncorked a glass bottle, the amber liquid within catching the pavilion's shimmering lights. He poured a small measure into a crystal tumbler, took a long sip, and let out a satisfied sigh. Curious glances turned into intrigued stares. Rillak, a Zentari medic known for his unyielding pursuit of knowledge, observed from a distance. The Centauri were a race of high intellect and luminous skin that pulsed with different colors based on their emotions. Rillak's skin, usually a pale blue, now glowed with flickers of cerulean curiosity. To the Centauri, pleasure was a puzzling concept reduced to a series of chemical reactions that served little practical function. But Rillak's inquisitive nature demanded answers. He moved closer. "What is it you're consuming?" Rillak asked, his voice a low hum that carried a faint vibration, a trait of his species. Reeve turned, eyes bright with amusement. This he held up the bottle, its label peeling from countless space journeys. It's whiskey. An Earth delicacy. The social glue of countless awkward parties. Care to try? Rillak hesitated. The Centauri consumed liquid nutrients, but nothing with potential toxins, nothing quite like this. Still, knowledge was a path worth walking, even if uncertain. He extended a slender, bioluminescent limb. "I will examine it." Reeve grinned, pouring a small amount into a second glass. "Examine away." Rillak lifted the glass to his face, his compound eyes reflecting the golden hue. He analyzed its molecular composition, a complex mix of ethanol, water, and trace compounds that humans claimed contributed to flavor. When he sipped, the liquid burned a sensation unlike any he had felt before. Warmth spread through him, not just physically but emotionally. His skin glowed a deeper blue. Reeve clapped him on the shoulder. "You okay there?" Rillak blinked. "I am processing." The sensation was overwhelming but not unpleasant. It defied categorization. The night unfolded with surprising ease. Under the influence of whiskey, Rillak found himself talking more freely. He and Reeve exchanged stories. Reeve shared tales of Earth's long history with fermented drinks, from beer brewed by ancient humans to the distilled spirits of modern times. In return, Rillak spoke of the Centauri's quest for perfect biological balance, a life without highs or lows. By the end of the evening, Reeve had to guide a stumbling, bioluminescent Rillak back to his quarters. "You, my friend," Reeve said, "just experienced humanity's greatest contribution to diplomacy." Rillak's words slurred as his skin pulsed erratically. "I must understand it better." The days that followed saw Rillak's obsession deepen. He delved into humanity's ancient texts, accessing files on fermentation and distillation. Earth's long relationship with alcohol fascinated him. It was celebration and mourning, tradition and rebellion. His colleagues were wary of his new focus, and some openly questioned it. Rillak, a senior Centauri, scolded, "You stray from our path." "I stray," Rillak replied, "to better understand." In his private lab deep within the Centauri Medical Consortium's facility, Rillak began his experiments. He tested combinations of Earth grains, fruits, and sugars with native Centauri botanicals. For weeks, nothing extraordinary emerged, just variations of human liquors, none quite capturing what he sought. But one night, while mixing earth corn with virak root, a Centauri plant renowned for its potent enzymes, something happened. The concoction bubbled and hissed like a sentient being. Rillak leaned in, his compound eyes scanning for anomalies. Everything seemed stable, but he hadn't accounted for virak's unpredictable reaction to sonic vibrations. As he adjusted a panel, he unconsciously hummed an ancient work song. The resonance sent shockwaves through the mixture, triggering a sudden, furious reaction. Steam erupted, condensing rapidly into a brilliant blue liquid that glowed like captured starlight. Rillak approached cautiously. The liquid pulsed in rhythm with his own bioluminescence, as if alive. He measured its composition ethanol levels far beyond known human spirits, coupled with unknown properties unique to the Relac root. A wave of exhilaration and fear coursed through him. "I must test it," Rillak whispered, the words echoing softly in his empty lab. He filled a flask and took a careful sip. The drink's warmth surged through him, but it was more than just heat. Clarity, euphoria, and strength raced through his body, each sensation layered atop another. His limbs felt lighter, his thoughts razor sharp. It was unlike any human alcohol, and potentially far more dangerous. In the glow of his lab, Rillak knew he had stumbled upon something remarkable. The question was whether it was a discovery to be celebrated or feared. When word of the new creation reached Reeve, he arrived at Rillak's lab with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "I hear you've been busy," he said, eyeing the glowing flask. "This is different," Rillak said, offering the flask. "It is potent." Reeve took the flask, examined it skeptically, and then took a cautious sip. His eyes widened as the liquid coursed through him. "Sweet stars, this is strong." Together they laughed, the sound echoing through the lab. But the laughter soon gave way to a shared understanding. Rillak's fire was no ordinary drink. It was a force unto itself, capable of bridging divides or sparking chaos. Outside the lab, the galaxy moved on, unaware of the fire that had just been lit within its heart. The news of Rillak's fire spread faster than either Relac or Dr. Bryan Reeve anticipated. In the weeks following its creation, whispers of the mysterious blue drink began to circulate through Quora Prime. The first taste had been shared discreetly, an invitation-only gathering of medics and researchers curious about the drink's properties. But even among those select few, the allure of Rillak's fire proved impossible to contain. Its taste lingered on the tongue, its warmth kindled a sense of euphoria, and its potency demanded respect. Relac, with his meticulous scientific mind, recognized the risk. He quickly drafted protocols, limiting access and diluting the drink's strength for distribution. "Its effects must be studied," he insisted to Reeve. "Uncontrolled, it could harm. We do not yet understand all its properties." Reeve said, though he had already heard of people trying to replicate it across the station. "But you can't put this genie back in the bottle, not entirely." Their caution, however, did little to stop the tide. Soon lines formed outside the laboratory's metal doors, aliens of every species and stripe, desperate to experience the drink that had become legend. Enterprising merchants offered outrageous sums, and tavern owners begged for exclusive rights. To some, Rillak's fire was a curiosity. To others, it was a means to wealth and influence. Not all attention was benign. Among those intrigued were members of the Syndicate of Avaria, a shadowy network of interstellar trade cartels. They approached under the guise of negotiators, but Rillak saw the greed in their eyes. The Syndicate's envoy, Solara, was a serpentine being with scales that shimmered like molten metal. She slithered into Rillak's lab flanked by armored bodyguards, her tongue flicking the air. "This drink of yours," Solara purred, her words dripping with feigned courtesy, "has caused quite a stir. We offer you protection, Relac. Partnership. With our reach, Rillak's fire could touch every corner of the galaxy." Rillak's bioluminescence dimmed with distaste. "No." Solara's smile did not falter, but the flicker of her eyes revealed the danger. Refusal is unwise. She leaned closer, her scales clinking softly. "Think carefully, medic." Before Relac could respond, Reeve stepped in, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "I think the good doctor has made himself clear. Why don't you slither off before you get burned?" The bodyguards shifted, but Solara held up a hand. Her gaze lingered on Relac for a moment, promising retribution. Then she turned, scales glinting. "We will speak again," she said, her departure as silent as it was chilling. In the days that followed, Relac and Reeve tightened security around the lab. But even with their vigilance, danger crept closer. Smugglers and black market chemists made attempts to steal Rillak's fire, their methods growing more sophisticated with each failure. One night, a break-in left half the lab scorched by volatile compounds, a reminder of just how coveted the drink had become. Rillak felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on him. "I did not intend this," he confided to Reeve as they cleaned the wreckage. "It was a pursuit of knowledge. It was never meant to be a weapon." Reeve nodded, understanding. "I know, Relac, but people can make weapons out of anything. It's our job to make sure they don't." Yet even as they doubled their efforts, more complications emerged. The Intergalactic Medical Bureau, worried about the potential for chaos, summoned Rillak to justify his creation. The hearing took place in a vast chamber of iridescent glass, where 5 towering figures presided over matters of galactic health and order. Their leader, Rizora, was a stoic figure whose skin shimmered in rhythmic pulses. "Rillak of Zentari," Rizora intoned, their voice carrying the weight of judgment, "you stand accused of creating a substance capable of destabilizing entire systems. What do you say in your defense?" Rillak bowed deeply. "Counselors, my intention was research to explore the effects of human alcohol and seek cross-cultural understanding. Rillak's fire is potent, yes, but it need not be dangerous. We can regulate its use, study its properties. Ignorance is the true threat." Rizora's eyes narrowed. "Your creation has caused unrest, inspired black markets, and endangered lives. How do you propose to remedy this?" Before Rillak could answer, a familiar voice rang out. "By doing what humans do best, educate, not suppress." Reeve stepped forward, drawing astonished looks. "I'm Dr. Bryan Reeve, and I can tell you this bans and prohibitions only make things worse. We need responsible use, guidelines, transparency." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Reeve's boldness bordered on recklessness, but it struck a chord. He spoke of humanity's struggles with alcohol and the lessons learned over centuries. He described how regulation and awareness turned substances once considered dangerous into accepted parts of society. Rillak saw the flicker of hope in Rizora's eyes. "I will submit to oversight," he said firmly. "Together we can study and ensure it serves as a tool for connection, not destruction." The council deliberated, their luminescence dimming as they spoke privately. When Rizora finally turned back, their glow had softened. "You will be granted a trial period of controlled distribution. Any breaches of protocol, and Rillak's fire is banned across all systems." Returning to their lab, Rillak and Reeve exhaled in relief. But their respite was short-lived. The Syndicate of Averia, furious at being thwarted, launched a series of attacks on distributors of Rillak's fire. Taverns were raided, shipments sabotaged, and trusted allies turned against one another. Rillak knew they were walking a knife's edge. One night as he worked late in the lab, he was ambushed. Syndicate agents disabled security and dragged him away. Their intention clear: they wanted the formula. Reeve discovered the breach too late. The lab was in shambles, and Rillak was gone. But Reeve was not one to give up. He rallied a makeshift coalition: alien researchers, sympathetic tavern owners, and even a few daring Volrix warriors. Together, they planned a daring rescue. "If they think they can bully us," Reeve said grimly, "they've underestimated humans." The infiltration of the Syndicate's stronghold was a blend of chaos and precision. Disguised as interstellar bartenders, Reeve's team distributed diluted versions of Rillak's fire, incapacitating their captors. Rillak, bound and weakened, used his wits to stall for time. When Reeve burst through the door, it was with laughter, improvised weapons, and a signature toast. The battle was farcical, but they emerged victorious. Exhausted, Rillak and Reeve stumbled back to safety, knowing their fight was far from over. The Syndicate's threat remained, and the galaxy's gaze had not yet turned away. Back at the lab, Rillak raised a small glass, his bioluminescence dim but steady. "To those who stand with us." Reeve clinked his glass. "To those who drink responsibly and fight fiercely." As they drank, a quiet determination settled over them. The path forward would be difficult, but Rillak's fire burned with the promise not of chaos, but of unity and hope. The rescue of Rillak from the clutches of the Syndicate of Averia marked a temporary victory, but it was a fleeting triumph. The Syndicate's influence stretched across systems, their agents lurking in the shadows, determined to regain control over Rillak's fire. Relac and Dr. Bryan Reeve knew that continued resistance would require more than luck and improvisation. They needed powerful allies and a plan to safeguard the delicate balance they had achieved. In the days following the rescue, Rillak and Reeve worked tirelessly. The lab became a hub of activity, with trusted researchers and volunteers streaming in to assist. They refined the production of Rillak's fire, focusing on dilution, distribution guidelines, and medical protocols to ensure it could not be weaponized. To keep it out of the syndicate's hands, they implemented strict safeguards, biometric locks, multi-species verification chains, and encrypted formulas known only to Relac and a few trusted associates. But the syndicate's reach was vast. Raids on distribution points continued, often resulting in skirmishes. Taverns that served Relac's fire became battlegrounds, forcing Rillak and Reeve to confront the reality that their creation was still a source of conflict. Seeking a more permanent solution, they turned to diplomacy. The Galactic Council convened an emergency summit at Unity's Veil, a massive station floating in the gravitational embrace of a blue-white star. It was a place where treaties were signed, alliances forged, and grudges aired. Rillak and Reeve arrived with an entourage of their closest allies, including the Vulric's emissary, who had become a staunch supporter after their transformative experience with Rillak's fire. The chamber was filled with representatives from countless species. Rizura, the head of the Intergalactic Medical Bureau, presided over the proceedings. Her luminescent skin shimmered with caution as she called the summit to order. Today we address the fate of Rillak's fire. Will it bring unity or sow discord? Before Relac could speak, Solara, the Syndicate Serpentine envoy, slithered forward. Her scales gleamed with menace. It has already brought discord. This substance has destabilized trade routes, incited rebellion, and threatened our interests. Reeve stepped forward, his voice calm but unyielding. Your interests are built on fear and control. Rillak's fire is a tool. Its purpose depends on how it's used, and you've tried to use it for your gain. Solara's eyes narrowed. You accuse us human, but it is your reckless creation that sparked this chaos. Rillak's bioluminescence dimmed momentarily, a sign of sadness. Solara is not wrong. My creation has caused harm, but it can also heal, if guided responsibly. We propose a coalition, a council of guardians from every represented species, including the Syndicate, to oversee its use. The chamber erupted in debate. Some saw merit in Rillak's proposal, others believed Rillak's fire should be destroyed entirely. Tensions flared, and it seemed the summit might collapse into chaos until an unexpected voice spoke up. The Vulric's emissary stepped forward, their massive frame casting a shadow across the chamber. In our history, they rumbled, we have known only conflict. We were feared, and we feared others. But through this drink, we felt connection. We will stand with Relac. The statement shifted the room's energy. Representatives murmured among themselves, reconsidering their stances. Other voices joined the Vulric's, sharing stories of unity forged over shared glasses of Rillak's fire. Slowly, opposition softened. Even Solara's calculating gaze betrayed a glimmer of realization. Rizura raised a hand, silencing the chamber. If we are to form this coalition, all must abide by its rules. Violations will bring swift consequences. She looked directly at Solara, who inclined her head in grudging agreement. The coalition was formed, marking a fragile truce. Its members included medics, merchants, diplomats, and even former Syndicate operatives who saw the potential for change. Rillak's fire was now a symbol of cooperation and a reminder of how easily power could corrupt. Relac and Reeve oversaw the coalition's early days, working tirelessly to ensure compliance and mitigate risks. Educational campaigns were launched, emphasizing responsible consumption and cultural respect. Galactic fairs became places of celebration, where diverse species shared stories and traditions over carefully regulated glasses of the drink. But challenges persisted. Rogue elements still sought to exploit Rillak's fire for profit or power. During one such crisis, a splinter faction of the Syndicate attempted to distribute an unregulated, dangerously potent version. The coalition acted swiftly, apprehending the culprits and reinforcing their protocols. Through it all, Rillak's resolve never wavered. One evening, as tensions cooled, Rillak and Reeve stood atop the observation deck of Unity's Veil. The blue-white star bathed them in light, and the galaxy stretched out before them, a vast expanse of possibility and challenge. It's not over, Rillak said, his bioluminescence pulsing gently. There will always be those who seek to misuse it. Reeve took a sip of a diluted version of Rillak's fire and nodded. True, but for every one of them, there's someone like you willing to fight for what's right. Rillak's glow brightened. I could not have done it alone. Good thing you didn't have to, Reeve replied, raising his glass. To allies old and new. They clinked their glasses, savoring the warmth and weight of what they had built together. For a moment, they allowed themselves to rest, knowing the path forward would be difficult, but worth every step. As they gazed out at the stars, a transmission came in news of a far-off colony requesting guidance on using Rillak's fire to bridge cultural divides. Rillak smiled, his heart lightened. The fire they had kindled would continue to burn, but now it was tempered by wisdom, community, and hope. Together, they turned toward the future, ready for whatever came next.